Hello and welcome to your introduction lesson to A-level PE. The idea of this lesson is to give you an overview of kind of what to expect, the difference really between GCSE, PE and A-level, and then give you a sample of what your lesson might look like and get you started thinking about some of the aspects you'll be covering. So here you can see a slide which gives you an overview of the course. I'm not going to read through it, but just to summarise key things. There are 3 exams in each of the different areas, so anatomy and physiology, skill ac and sports psychology, and sport and society. And for your holiday bridging work, you will have a task from each of those sections. You'll also have a different teacher for each of those sections. You can see the weighting for each part. A&P has the biggest of the 3 weightings and is a slightly bigger exam. You also have to do 1 practical performance, and that can be in the role of a participant or a coach. And then you have to do an EAPI, which is an evaluative talk on a sport, which is done and you are prepared for over the year. You'll have a specific teacher that will, like I said, teach you each of the contents, and the EAPI will be delivered by 1 member of staff, and you'll be given lots of material and support in preparation for this. So today's lesson is going to look at the effects of hosting a global sporting event. Now this is something you'll study in socio-cultural aspects of the course and will be covered in Year 12. By the end of the lesson, looking at an example of a global sporting event, the impacts of hosting it on the sports itself, and also then looking at the impact it would have on the country as a whole. And when we're talking about impact, we need to consider both positive and negative impacts. And a large difference between GCSE and A-level is going to be your ability to critically analyse specific case studies and examples and show a greater depth of knowledge, and that will come through wider reading that you'll need to do around each of your topics. So your first task I'd like you to do is to follow the link, which should take you to a blog about the Russian World Cup in 2018. I'd like you to read the article and then complete your own news summary or news article that impacts the impact of hosting that particular event. I'd like you to look at sporting impact, social and economic, and some political impacts that came as a result of it. Try and break that down into advantages and disadvantages, and where possible try and find some data that can be used to support what you are saying, either in a positive or negative light. I'd like you to spend about 15 to 20 minutes on that task, so it is going to be a fairly brief summary. Don't worry if you don't get all aspects of it done. The idea of this is to give you a start into how you will be expected to research and go into detail on a particular topic. With all of this, please make sure you keep hold of these notes, because like I said, we will come back to this at a later point in the course, so anything you have done now will be useful and can be used as preparation for that particular lesson when we get to it later in Year 12. Okay, so we're going to look at the case study of the London 2012 Olympics. Obviously, it's close to home, so that gives us a better context. We're going to look at it from several different aspects. The first one being the benefits to sport itself. So I want you to think about, looking at the pictures here, the kind of impact it would have on the sport and the athletes involved. If you think about the many different sports involved in the Olympics, a lot of those sports are lesser known sports where throughout the year have far less coverage, and therefore we're going to see a raise in the profile of that sport. Think also about the development that came in terms of sporting facilities, money and funding that was sent to those lesser sports in order to sort of generate and support winners. Obviously, hosting the games, we wanted to have success as well. Also think about the negative aspects about that. What happens to those facilities after the event if it's not planned for properly? Also, some of those lesser known globally sports, can they suffer in the long term? You know, they get this funding in the build up to the Olympics, but then that may well be withdrawn in the future, and that can have a negative impact on the sport itself. Also, think about the media coverage that comes with that sport. You're going to get the coverage of things like deviance is going to be far more clearly seen. So again, that can have a negative impact. Okay, over the next 3 slides, you're going to see some images. I want you to think about it from 2 perspectives. Firstly, the benefits to the nation, to Britain. What impact socially did that have on the country? And then secondly, think about the specifics of London itself. How did that have a positive impact in terms of its development and regeneration at the time of the Olympics in the build-up, and then as a result of having that regeneration afterwards? Jot down some notes and some ideas, and then we'll have a summary later on. Okay, so hopefully some of the things you will have come up with in terms of the country and London itself were things like the building of new facilities, regeneration of areas. If you think about Stratford, used to be a highly industrial area, now is quite a thriving community with lots of new housing and facilities that have been left as a legacy. Also, you could think about the creation of sort of role models and raising of profiles. Increase in tourism and sort of shop window effect of the country itself, raising the profile of sports. You could also think about things like development of transport links, etc., reduction of crime at the time. All of those kind of aspects, hopefully, you will have come up with across your images. We're now going to look at it from the other side, so the negative impact. So again, having a look at the images here, I want you to think about and jot down perhaps some of the negative aspects that may well have resulted of hosting a global sporting event. Okay, so then have a look at this slide. This is kind of a summary of everything that we will have covered in the lesson, some of which I will have talked about, other things perhaps we haven't been mentioned at this time. Again, what I'd like you to do now is create yourself a mind map looking at the positives and negatives from each of the different aspects. So the positive and negatives in terms of sport and in terms of the country and London in specifics, about the positive and negative impacts that it could have on those particular factors. Once you've done that, there's an exam question that I'd like you to have a go at. So read the exam question carefully, highlight the keywords, look at the data that's been provided, and then I want you to summarise and try and answer that to get the full marks. Now, one thing that I do want you to be aware of, you need to be quite concise in your answer. So it's a 5-mark answer. I wouldn't really expect more than about a page to a page and a half of writing to get your marks. We're not looking at pages and pages of writing. What we're looking at is concise example and explanation to meet the points that are being raised in the question. Have a go. Like I said, keep all the work, bring it in when you return in September, and your teacher will then discuss and collect and follow up on this lesson. Best of luck. Any issues, make sure you email me and I will try my best to support you. Hope you're safe. Take care. Bye-bye.